Let's talk about Billy Joe Saunders, changing tack a little bit. What's the latest with him? What's going on? Is he in the gym at the moment? Is he back home? What's going on?
No, Billy's been in the gym since he came back from Canada. He's bought a house in Sheffield, so it's obviously permanent. He's training. He's looking to fight on the 22nd on the Frampton Warrington undercard.
And that's still possible?
Yeah, it's still possible. Just looking for an opponent at the minute, so he's training. That's what's happening with him, and then hopefully, plans for him next year. I think he's out of the ratings for 6 months with the WBO because of the, so-called failed drug test, which is just a lot of rubbish. He's motivated. He's in a good crowd of people. He was in here yesterday. He sparred all the Royal Marines. He had about 6 or 7 kids coming in at him, and he enjoyed it. They're only novices, but they loved it, and he just, moved around with them, and they can go back home and say, well, we sparred with the world champion. And, he enjoyed it, and, so he's in the gym, and he's looking to fight on that day.
Is there still any lingering bitterness from him or from you about what happened with the drug test and the decision by the commission?
Well, not really, because what do fighters do? They just walk off, don't they? So, I think if Billy thought there was anything, untoward happening, he'd have cleared off. That's what you'd have done. But, he's lost his title, but he's still unbeaten. And look at Tyson Fury. Look at the flack he's had over the last 2 years. Failed drug test, two years out, and within 3 fights, and he didn't look brilliant in them 2 fights. He's come back, jumped into a big fight with Deontay Wilder, and made him look absolutely basic. Do you understand? Because Tyson Fury, like Billy Joe Saunders, they've got that fighting built into them. They can turn themselves around, and it's like Billy Joe Saunders. But what you need to do with these kids, Tyson and Billy, you've got to get them, in shape. You've got to get them focused, and they can fight for fun. And that's the thing. And there's not many fighters like that. So Billy's happy where he is. He knows this is a place for him to be. He's in a good crowd of people. We've got Jason Quigley, Liam Williams. We've got a good crowd of competitive athletes in here. And they all get on with each other. That's the main thing. We all have a good crack. We all have a laugh and a joke. And it's a good environment to train in. There's no prima donnas. Everybody gets on. You don't think Billy was a world champion. You don't walk around with his head in the air and, I'm Billy Joe Saunders. He's a laugh and a joke a minute. But, you learn as you go along. The Varda, situation was, down to, not reading the small print. Training camps and in training periods and out of competition periods. It's ridiculous, really, to class a training camp as in competition. Training is not a competition. In 99% of, in WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Association, in competition is the day of the fight. You know what I mean? So why would it be any different for VADA? That's in competition for them is the day you sign the contract. That could be 12 weeks, it could be 14 weeks. It's ridiculous.
Would you advise him going forward not to sign up with VADA again for a fight?
The thing is, you've got to have VADA because this is why people don't realise about why you have VADA. Why do British fighters have VADA when they're fighting American fighters? Because American fighters don't have the drug testing in place that we have in England. We've got UCAD. The monitor, Billy Joe Saunders is monitored every day. He's got to be somewhere for 1 hour every day if they roll up to test him. They come to his house, they come to the gym. In America, they don't test you. Do you understand? They test you maybe sometimes after you've boxed. And the big joke is the Massachusetts commissioner who refused him his license to box in Boston don't even implement drug testing. Do you understand? The promoter has to bring in private testing. And that was a joke. Kid Galahad went to do his test. They gave him the pot to piss in, as they say, and sent him to the toilet on himself. Nobody watched him. So it's a joke. So that's why you have to have VADA, because VADA are going to do everything by the book. They're going to follow you to the toilets. They're going to be on you all the time. They're going to test you regularly through the training period. So you know that everything's above board. So imagine that you're a British fighter and I'm an American fighter, and you're in England training for 10 weeks and you're getting tested 5, 6, 7 times, random testing after them, and I'm in America and nobody's testing me. What would you be thinking?
Yeah, so VADA makes it standardised between different continents.
That's why you have to use it. So, I think VADA is a good thing. I think the in competition situations, is a joke, to be honest. It shouldn't be that. It should be uniform with World Anti-Doping. So you've got to have it to level the playing field, so to speak, because if, I don't think anybody minds doing drug testing as long as it's even across the board.
What's Billy's route back, in your opinion, for 2019? What fights or what titles would you like to see him target?
Listen, he'll be in the mix somewhere, won't he? I mean, he's He's a Frank Warren fighter. Frank's got BT Sport. They're doing all right. There'll be a plan for him somewhere down the line. I would imagine at some point they're going to get him in with, he'll be made mandatory for Andrade at some point. But to be honest, that's not the headache I need. That's down to his promoters and his managers. The headache I've got is to train him and keep him on track. And, he was in fantastic shape for that last fight. He was fit. He was sparring like heavyweights. He looked $1 million. And watching him spar and the variation in sparring that he had, and then watching Andrade, Billy would have beat up Andrade for 7 or 8 rounds, then he would have knocked him out 100%. I don't care what anybody says. Looking at Andrade, he boxed a tough kid, and he had that kid down 2 or 3 times and he couldn't put him away. He even hit him on the floor when he was on the floor. He should have been disqualified. He hit him with a clean blow and he still couldn't put him away. So, you look at that situation and think, that's a missed opportunity. But I honestly believe that Billy would have outboxed Andrade for 7 or 8 and then knocked him out.